The case of the silver envelope. Every Friday for 3 months, a silver envelope appeared on my desk. No postage, tow, no return address. Coordinates to places where people were about to die, and I couldn't stop any of it. My name is Lucien Hart, and I've been a private detective for 12 years. I've seen cases that would make your skin crawl, crimes that defy logic, and criminals who thought they were untouchable. But nothing prepared me for what started on a cold February morning when I found that first silver envelope waiting for me. I didn't think much of it at first. People leave things at my office all the time. Anonymous tips, desperate pleas for help, sometimes just hate mail from people I have put away. But this was different. The paper felt expensive, heavy, almost like fabric. Hey, and inside was a single card with nothing but numbers. 40.7489 minus 73.9680 and a date. February 14th, 2 days away. I'm not the kind of detective who ignores gut feelings. Something about that envelope made my blood run cold. So I did what any reasonable person would do. Plug those coordinates into my phone. They led to an abandoned warehouse in Queens, near the waterfront. The kind of place where bad things happen and nobody asks questions. I thought about going to the police. I really did. But what would I even tell them? Someone sent me coordinates. That's not a crime. That's barely even suspicious. So I decided to check it out myself. February 14th came around, and I drove out to Queens at dawn. The warehouse was exactly where the coordinates said it would be. Broken windows, rusted metal siding, and graffiti covering every surface. I parked a block away and walked up slowly, watching for any signs of movement. Nothing. The place looked dead. I circled the building twice before I found a door that wasn't completely sealed shut. Inside, the air smelled like mold and rust and something else. Something that made me reach for the gun I keep in my shoulder holster. The main floor was empty except for old machinery and trash. But then I heard it. Sound coming from the back corner. Dripping water, maybe, or something worse. That's when I found him. Man in his 40s, wearing an expensive suit that didn't match his surroundings. He was slumped against the wall, a pool of blood spreading beneath him. Fresh blood. Checked his pulse, even though I already knew he was dead. Had been for maybe an hour, judging by the temperature of his skin. I called it in, gave the cops an anonymous tip, and got out of there before they arrived. 'Cause now I had questions that wouldn't be answered by a crime scene investigation. How did someone know this was going to happen? How did they know exactly where and when? And why did they tell me? The next Friday, another silver envelope appeared. Same heavy paper, same pristine condition, same lack of any identifying marks. This time, the coordinates led to Central Park, and the date was 5 days away. February 21st. I stared at those numbers for a long time, trying to decide what to do. The first death had been ruled a homicide, shot twice in the chest at close range. The victim was identified as Marcus Chin, a hedge fund manager with a gambling problem and ties to some questionable people. The police were treating it as a mob hit, but I knew something they didn't. Someone had predicted it, or planned it. I couldn't ignore the second envelope. Okay, if I was right, someone else was going to die in Central Park in 5 days. Okay, and if I was wrong, I was just chasing shadows. But I've learned to trust my instincts in this line of work. They've kept me alive when logic would have gotten me killed. I spent those 5 days preparing. I studied maps of Central Park, identifying every entrance and exit, every secluded spot where something bad could happen. I bought a long-range camera and set up surveillance on February 20th, the day before the predicted date. I barely slept, watched, and waited, and drank coffee until my hands shook. February 21st arrived with freezing rain that turned the park into a miserable gray wasteland. Most people stayed home, smart people, but I was there, hidden in my car with a clear view of the coordinates. They pointed to Ball Bridge, One of the most photographed spots in the park. Romantic, picturesque, not the kind of place you'd expect violence. Hours passed, nothing happened. I started to think maybe I was crazy, that I'd connected dots that didn't exist. Then, at 3:15 in the afternoon, a woman walked onto the bridge. Mid-30s, red coat, brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. She stood at the center of the bridge, looking out at the water like she was waiting for someone. A man approached from the other side, tall, wearing all black, with hands in his pockets. They didn't greet each other, didn't smile, just stood there, maybe 6 feet apart, talking. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see the tension in their body language. The conversation lasted maybe 3 minutes. Then the man pulled something from his pocket. I was out of my car before I consciously decided to move, running through the rain, shouting, trying to close the distance, but I was too far away. The man grabbed the woman and pushed her over the railing. She didn't even scream, just disappeared into the water below with a splash that I felt more than heard. The man in black saw me coming and ran. I jumped the railing and went into the water after her. It was so cold, it felt like knives in my lungs, but I found her floating face down about 10 feet from the bridge. I pulled her to shore and started CPR, but I already knew. The water wasn't what killed her. There was a knife wound in her side, hidden by the red coat. She was dead before she hit the water. The police came, ambulances, crime scene investigators. They asked me what I was doing there, why I happened to be nearby when a murder occurred. I told them I was following a lead on a different case. They didn't believe me, but they didn't have anything to hold me on either. The victim was identified as Sarah Reeves, a journalist who'd been working on an investigation into police corruption. Her death was ruled a homicide. The man in black was never found. 2 deaths, 2 silver envelopes, 2 predictions that came true with impossible accuracy. I spread everything out on my desk and tried to find a pattern. Marcus Chen, hedge fund manager. Sarah Reeves, journalist. No obvious connection between them. Different social circles, different professions, different parts of the city. But someone wanted them both dead, and someone wanted me to know about it. The 3rd envelope arrived the following Friday. I've been expecting it, dreading it, checking my office door every few hours like it might materialize out of thin air. When I finally found it, I just stared at it for a long time before opening it. The coordinates this time led to a restaurant in Brooklyn. The date was February 28th, 4 days away. I knew I couldn't do this alone anymore. I needed help. But who do you call when you're being sent predictions of murders by an anonymous source? The police would think I was involved. The FBI would tie me up in red tape and bureaucracy. I needed someone who could move fast and ask questions later. I called an old friend, Detective Angela Torres, someone I'd worked with on a few cases before I went private. We met at a diner in the Bronx, far from anywhere we might be recognized. I showed her the envelopes, told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her cop face giving nothing away. When I finished, she leaned back and shook her head. You should have come to me sooner, Lucien. This is way above your pay grade. These aren't random murders. Someone's executing a plan, and they're using you as their audience, or their witness. I said, maybe they want someone to document what's happening. Kana, why you? That was the question I've been asking myself for weeks. Why me? I wasn't famous. I wasn't particularly successful. I was just another detective trying to make rent and sleep at night. What made me special enough to be chosen for this? Angela agreed to help, off the books. We spent the next 4 days investigating every angle we could think of. We pulled files on both victims, looking for connections. We analyzed the envelopes for fingerprints, DNA, and anything that might tell us who sent them. Nothing. Whoever was behind this was careful, professional. February 28th came too fast. The coordinates led to a small Italian restaurant in Bensonhurst. It's the kind of place where everybody knows everybody and strangers stand out. Angela and I arrived separately. trying not to look like we were together. She sat at the bar. I took a table near the back with a clear view of the entrance. Hours passed. Okay, I ordered pasta I didn't eat and coffee I didn't drink. Angela nursed a beer and chatted with the bartender, playing the role of a local. The restaurant filled up with the dinner crowd. Families, couples, a few solo diners are reading newspapers or scrolling through their phones. Then he walked in. Late 50s, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of man who carries authority like a weapon. He sat at a corner booth and ordered without looking at the menu. I recognized him from the news. Anthony Moretti, a defense attorney famous for getting mobsters acquitted on technicalities. A man with enemies in both the criminal world and law enforcement. I watched him eat his dinner alone, wondering if he knew this would be his last meal. Wondering if I should warn him, even though warning the previous victims hadn't been possible. Angela caught my eye from across the room and gave a slight shake of her head. Wait, watch, let it play out. The shooter came from the kitchen. The staff door swung open, gun already raised, 2 shots fired before anyone could react. Moretti slumped forward into his pasta. People screamed. The shooter turned and ran back through the kitchen, disappearing before anyone could stop him. Angela was up and running, but I knew it was pointless. This killer was a ghost, just like the others. 3 deaths, 3 perfect predictions. I was done waiting, done being reactive. It was time to figure out who was sending these envelopes and why they wanted me to watch their handiwork. The 4th envelope arrived on schedule, March 7th. But this time, something was different. Along with the coordinates and date, there was a second card. It's 1 word, written in elegant script. Congratulations. Congratulations. For what? For watching people die? For failing to stop any of them? I stared at that word until it stopped making sense, until it was just shapes on paper. Then I looked at the coordinates. They pointed to my own office. The date was March 10th, 2 days away. My hands started shaking. They wanted me to know. This wasn't about the other victims. This was about me. I was always the target. The others were just the opening act, the build-up. The evidence that this killer could strike anywhere, anytime, with perfect precision. Angela came to my office within an hour of my call. She looked at the envelope, at the coordinates, at that single mocking word. We're getting you out of here. Safe house, protective custody, whatever it takes. But I knew running wouldn't help. This killer could predict murders down to the exact location and time. They could find me anywhere. The only way out was through. I needed to be here on March 10th. I needed to face whoever was behind this. This was the only way to end it. We set a trap. Angela brought in people she trusted, off-duty cops who owed her favors. We turned my office into a fortress. Cameras covering every angle. Armed officers are hidden in adjacent buildings. Electronic surveillance monitors every phone and computer signal in a 3-block radius. If someone were coming for me, we'd be ready. March 10th arrived, cold and clear. I sat at my desk, trying to look like it was just another day, trying to ignore the vest Angela had made me wear and the gun in my hand under the desk. The minutes crawled by. Morning turned to afternoon. Afternoon crept toward evening. Nothing happened. At 7 p.m., I started to think maybe we'd won. Maybe our show of force had scared them off. Maybe just knowing we were ready had been enough. Then the lights went out. All of them, simultaneously, like someone had cut the power to the entire building. Emergency lights kicked in, bathing everything in red. And that's when I saw it, another silver envelope, sitting in the center of my desk. But I had been watching that desk all day. Nobody had come in. Nobody had gotten past our security. The envelope had appeared like magic, like it had materialized from nothing. I opened it with Angela watching over my shoulder, her gun drawn. Inside was a single card, but this time it had more than coordinates. It had a message. You've been investigating the wrong mystery, Detective Hart. The question isn't who, it's why. Check your old case files, case number 2019 to 347. My blood went cold. Case 2019 to 347. I didn't need to look it up. I remembered it perfectly. It was the case that nearly ended my career. The one that still gave me nightmares. 6 years ago, I'd been hired to investigate a death that the police had ruled a suicide. The victim's family didn't believe it. They were right not to. After months of digging, I'd uncovered evidence of murder. I'd identified the killer, gathered proof, handed everything to the authorities. The case was solid. Conviction was guaranteed. Except it wasn't. The killer had connections, money, influence. They hired the best lawyers, exploited every loophole, and walked away free. The victim's family was destroyed. The justice system had failed them, and I'd been powerless to do anything about it. The killer's name was Vincent Castellano, businessman, philanthropist, political donor, untouchable. And now, apparently, someone was making him pay. Because when I cross-referenced the victims, when I dug deeper into their lives, the connection finally appeared. Marcus Chin had managed Castellano's investments. Sarah Reeves had been investigating Castellano's business dealings. Anthony Moretti had been Castellano's defense attorney. They were all part of the machine that had kept him out of prison. And someone was systematically taking them apart. I pulled up Castellano's current information. He lived in a penthouse on the Upper East Side, protected by private security and surrounded by wealth. Untouchable. Except that the silver envelopes had proven that nothing was untouchable. It's not me they were after, I told Angela. I was never the target. They just wanted me to understand, to see the pattern, to know why this is happening. Why? Angela asked. I showed her the old case file. The victim's name was Emma Castellano, Vincent's daughter. She'd discovered her father's crimes and threatened to expose him. He'd killed her and made it look like suicide. And now, someone who'd loved Emma was getting revenge. Someone who knew I'd tried to bring her father to justice and failed. The final piece clicked into place when I saw the signature on one of the old witness statements, a name I'd forgotten, Kimma's best friend, who'd given testimony about her mental state in the weeks before her death. A woman named Adriana Silver. Silver, like the envelopes. I found Adriana Silver in a hotel room near LaGuardia Airport. She'd been expecting me. Of course, she had. She'd orchestrated everything to lead me to this moment. She looked older than I remembered, worn down by grief and rage and 6 years of planning, but her eyes were sharp, focused, burning with purpose. On the desk beside her was a silver envelope, unsealed, waiting. I thought about killing you, too, she said, without preamble. You were part of it. You found the evidence, and it didn't matter. You helped prove he killed Emma, and he walked away like nothing happened. I know, I said, because what else was there to say? She was right. But then I realized you were the only one who actually tried. The only one who cared. Everyone else just wanted to close the case and move on. You wouldn't let it go. You fought for her, even when it cost you everything. I stayed silent, letting her talk, letting her say what she needed to say for 6 years. So I decided to make you watch instead. I wanted you to see what justice looks like when the system fails. I wanted you to understand why this had to happen. Each envelope was a gift, Detective Hart, a chance to witness real justice. It's not justice, I said quietly. It's revenge. What's the difference? She asked, and I didn't have an answer. The envelope on her desk contained coordinates to Castellano's penthouse and a date. Tomorrow, the final act of her plan. I could stop her, call it in, have her arrested, let Vincent Castellano live out his days in peace. Or I could walk away, look the other direction, let justice or revenge or whatever this was finally come for the man who'd killed his own daughter and gotten away with it. I thought about Emma Castellano, about her family's grief, about the failure of every system that was supposed to protect her, about all the victims whose killers walked free because they had money or connections, or just got lucky. Then I thought about Marcus Chin, Sarah Reeves, and Anthony Moretti, about their families, about the grief Adriana had caused in her quest for revenge, okay? About the line between justice and murder, and how easy it is to cross without realizing. In the end, I made my choice. I called Angela. Adriana didn't resist arrest. She'd known this was how it would end. She'd accepted it. Her revenge was never meant to be complete. It was meant to be witnessed, understood, and remembered. Vincent Castellano is still alive, still free, still untouchable. Adriana Silver is in prison, awaiting trial for 3 counts of first-degree murder. The silver envelopes stopped coming. My office is quiet again, and I still don't sleep well at night. Because the truth is, I don't know if I made the right choice. I don't know if justice was served or prevented. I just know that every Friday, I still check my desk, half expecting to find another silver envelope waiting for me. And part of me, a part I'm not proud of, almost wishes one would appear. Some mysteries don't have clean solutions. Some cases don't end with the good guys winning and the bad guys losing. Sometimes all you can do is bear witness to the darkness and try to understand why it exists. That's what Adriana wanted from me. And whether I wanted to or not, that's exactly what she got. The case of the silver envelope is officially closed, but the questions it raised will haunt me for the rest of my career. Maybe that was the point all along. Subscribe for the next case from the Hart Files.